Alvar Aalto once said that mechanization, standardization, is a part of democracy, that it is the only way of giving more to more people. Aalto approved of technology and its ability to liberate mankind. But this same technology has also enslaved people. And Aalto regarded this paradox as a major problem confronting contemporary architecture. Aalto sought the solution to the problem in nature. He was no romantic, however, and did not call for a return to nature. To Aalto, nature was the symbol of freedom. And in nature, he sought the answer to the problem of how to create harmony between man and technology. Hugo Alvar Henrik Aalto was born on February the 3rd, 1898, in the southern Ostrobothnian village of Kuortane. Alvar's father was a district surveyor. His position in the community as a highly qualified expert serving the public was decisive in determining Aalto's approach to the architect's work. Aalto did not erect monuments to himself. He wanted to serve the institutions he built for and the public for whom he created household goods.
He always approached things from the human point out, not from the intellectual point in.
Aalto's longtime friend and biographer Göran Schilt has personal experience of Aalto's relationship with his clients.
Han sa att nu ska jag rita ett sånt hus att du hålls här hemma i Finland och inte alltid via dig på resor. Så att på det sättet kom det här huset till stånd 1970. Alvar Aalto var ju inte en diktator som sa att nu ska du bo så här, utan det föddes efter diskussioner och han kom med förslag och han lyssnade alltid på vad man sa, så att det är egentligen ett slags gemensam skapelse på det sättet att han visste hur han skulle förverkliga de här behoven och önskningarna som han då såg hos mig.
Aalto was very fond of his mother. When he was 8 years old, she contracted meningitis and died in the course of a few days. It was a shock that Aalto remembered the rest of his life. The tragedy was alleviated when his father married his mother's 4 years younger sister, who had long been close to the children. It was perhaps initially a marriage of convenience, but in the course of time, the couple became deeply attached to one another. Aalto's maternal grandfather was a forester, but he also invented various ingenious technical devices. It is probably from him that Aalto's interest in engineering came. The forest was the work site for both his maternal grandfather, the forester, and his surveyor father. It was through them that the outdoor world, particularly the forests, came to be so important to Aalto. The forest, with its towering tree trunks, varying rock formations, and meandering ridges, is a world of constantly changing forms, unfettered by geometry. Here, Aalto found the basic patterns for his architecture. The forest also taught him that nature is a sensitive ecological system in which man must find his place.
He had a hatred for plastics, and he called it drugstore architecture when people used materials like that. He was very affectionate about wood and brick and stone and copper and ceramic tile.
Aalto's tie with nature stands out clearly in the pictures he started to paint as a boy. He hesitated a long time whether to become a painter or an architect. Aalto said it was at the age of 9 that he decided to become an architect. And the decisive factors were some beautiful coloured sketches by Eliel Saarinen of the interior of his villa at Viitträsk. Aalto went to school in Jyväskylä. He compared the school to a medieval cathedral that acquired its dignity from the clusters of ramshackle buildings surrounding it. The market at the Horse Fair both contrasted and complemented the school and the learning it represented. the sublime and human bustle nourish one another, and we must therefore allow them to coexist. Aalto's middle-class home life was broadened by visits to Alajärvi, where the future architect came in close contact with a rural milieu and labourers. It is probably from here that the human, down-to-earth practicality in Aalto's personality derives. The classical subjects he studied at school had already awakened a love of antiquity and Italy in Aalto. During his student days, this was further strengthened. Aalto's teacher, Armas Lindgren, gave inspired lectures about the Renaissance. Brunelleschi became Aalto's favourite architect. National Romanticism, the Finnish version of the Jugend style, or Art Nouveau, had prevailed in Finland around the turn of the century. Aalto rejected it, as did the whole of his generation. But he took one important feature from his predecessors: the ambition to fit his buildings into the terrain, into nature. Already in his early work, Aalto unites two poles that were to be important in his future career: the Finnish building tradition and the world of the Mediterranean. Aalto's first really important work is the Workers' House in Jyväskylä from 1924. Here too the Italian influence is obvious. But Gunnar Asplund's courthouse for the district of Lister also served as a model. Even as a child, Aalto loved the theatre, and in the Jyväskylä Workers' House he had his first opportunity to build a complete theatre. The apsidal curved wall in the theatre foyer is obviously loaned from Asplund's Lister courthouse. Another favourite theme of Aalto's is the stairway, man's answer to the different levels found in nature. Aalto's interest in architectural details is already apparent in this building. At about the same time as he was designing the buildings for the labour organisations, Aalto was also working on a building for the rightist Seinäjoki Defence Corps. This kind of duality was typical of him. The young architect did not want to design the buildings alone. He liked to create the interiors, down to the minutest detail. The Seinäjoki Defence Corps building was his first Gesamtkunstwerk, the prelude to an architectural commitment that was to have repercussions throughout our entire living environment, from lamps to city planning. There was a young woman architect named Aino Marcio working at Aalto's office. Before long, she became Mrs. Aalto. The couple took off for their honeymoon by airplane.
Contact.
To Aalto, flying was modern living, in step with technical progress. With futuristic enthusiasm, he eulogizes over the airplane's propeller.
1004 revolutions per minute is beauty of a high order. There's almost more art in that figure than in all the watercolors and antique furniture in the world, to say nothing of porcelain painting.
The destination is, of course, Italy. The newlyweds go to Venice, Padua, and Florence. This first trip to Italy was an unforgettable experience for Aalto. The journey also clearly left its mark on Aalto's architecture. It is typical of Aalto that it was not so much the great architectural monuments that inspired him as the small country churches. Their asymmetrical construction, rustic character, intimacy, and clean, simple wall surfaces recur in Aalto's church at Muurame. Technology was the password of the 20s. With technology and reason, you could build a beautiful new world. Industrial long-line production would bring prosperity to everyone. Faith in the benefits of the machine was as steadfast then as belief in computer technology is today. The machine became a symbol of the architecture of the times, functionalism. A house was a machine for living in, designed solely with a view to its practical functions. In 1928, Aalto designed Finland's first fully functionalist building, the Turun Sanomat newspaper building in Turku. A contemporary commentator likened it to a newly varnished racing car. Aalto's idea of projecting giant blow-ups of the newspaper's pages in the display windows was never carried out. The ideology of functionalism demanded that the functions of the building be visible from the outside. It was in this spirit that Aalto designed the sanatorium at Paimio as a healing machine. At the same time, however, he gave a new and important dimension to the concept of function.
Technical functionalism is right only if the goal is extended to include the psychological factor as well.
The sanatorium is one of the finest examples of functionalist architecture, not only by Aalto, but in the whole world. The period of apprenticeship has passed. Aalto now pursues his own path. Aalto's starting point is the patient. From personal experience, he knows how trying visible electric light sources can be. Lying in bed, one's gaze is irresistibly drawn to the light, which consequently has to be protected. Nasty drafts are minimized. Heating elements are set into the ceiling. The wash basins may not splash water or drip. Aalto's sanatorium is thus based on the individual patient and his needs, not on earlier building styles or society's demands for efficiency. Paimio Sanatorium is built to admit daylight to all the important areas. This is conducive to mental health and helps recovery. The sanatorium also portends Aalto's new form world. Paimio Sanatorium was of vital importance to Aalto's furniture design. He rejected the new, cold, shiny tubular steel chairs that had just appeared on the market. He wanted to find a material that made chairs pleasant to sit in. Apparently aimless doodling with forms played an important role in Aalto's creative work. He often solved complicated practical problems through abstract experiments with form. Aalto's experiment with bending birchwood produced an armchair for the Paimio Sanatorium. According to Aalto, it would help the tubercular patients breathe more deeply. But the soft curves of this chair frequently recur in his later constructions. Aalto's next important building is Viipuri Library. Its functionalist features include the smooth white walls, the carefully contrived traffic system, and the ingenious solution to the lighting problem. In the interior, however, Aalto starts to draw away from functionalism. The untreated wood surfaces give warmth, and the free, organic forms differ from the expediency of functionalist right angles. The curving ceiling of the reading room carries the sound so that the speaker can be heard everywhere in the long room. In his own home in the Munkkiniemi district of Helsinki, which also housed his office, Aalto continues to soften up functionalism. Wood now takes over the exterior as well. The multiplicity of forms and the colour harmony of the natural materials overcome the coldness of practicality. The smooth white wall surfaces of Le Corbusier are gone. Instead, Aalto uses whitewashed bricks, in which the uneven surface gives life and weight to the walls. According to Aalto, the yard opening onto a natural setting and an unbuilt landscape is an integral part of the home, as it would be in the warm countries of the south. The street elevation is, on the other hand, uninviting. It shuts off the outside world, protecting family life. Alvar and Aino Aalto's married life included companionship in their work. Aino was an efficient co-worker at the architect's office, particularly where interiors were concerned. In 1932, her glass series, Böljeblick, defeated Aalto's entry in a competition. Alvar was a creative bohemian, Aino a more down-to-earth, practical person. Aalto bought himself a small cine camera. Making films, like motoring, was all part of the modern life. Aalto became chairman of Finland's first film club, Projektio, which included avant-garde Russian films in its program. Physical culture was another aspect of modern life. In the spirit of the times, Aalto experimented with oblique screen angles.
Det tyckte mina föräldrar båda, att det var viktigt att vara med barnen och att sköta dem väl. Och så, om man gjorde det väl så kunde man göra annat också.
Tyckte han då att Aino Aalto, att hennes huvudsakliga uppgift var att sköta om barnen och inte att själv skapa?
Nej, jag tror att han tyckte att hennes uppgift först var att ta hand om honom och sköta om honom, och sen kom barnen och sen kom arbetet. Jag tror det var på det sättet. Jag tror att han tyckte det var lättare för honom att vara med små barn. Han tyckte om att vara själv lite pojkaktig och barnslig. Men sen när vi växte upp så han förstod inte alltid oss. Och till exempel när jag hade tagit studenten så skulle jag velat bli antingen sjuksköterska eller barnträdgårdslärarinna. Och det tyckte min far inte alls om. Så det fick jag inte göra. Han slutade att tala med mig. Och han var... För honom var det för oakademiskt att bli någonting sånt. Och min mamma, sa att jag förstår dig, men vi kan inte göra någonting. Så att det var den tiden.
One of Alvar and Aino Aalto's joint works was the interior of the Savoy restaurant. It was mainly done by Aino, but one detail was important from Alvar's point of view. He had designed a music dais for the Farmers' Cooperative building that was shaped like the lid of a grand piano. He now uses the same form for the serving table at the Savoy. The interiors also included a glass vase, now perhaps one of Aalto's best-known design products. Touko Saari, the architect, has been collecting Aalto glass for years.
Tässä on muotoja ja värejä paljon. Täällä nähdään näitä vanhoja puumuotissa tehtyjä pyöreäkulmaisia, hyvin harvinaisia erikoisia värejä, niin kuin tämä rubiini, siniset myöskin. Mutta tähän sarjaan kuului sitten varsin monen korkuisia ja hiukan eri muotoisiakin suuremmoisen kauniita esineitä, joita voi vain valittaa, ettei tänä päivänä tämmöisiä enää saada.
Aalto's furniture was shown at an exhibition in London and at the Milan Triennial. It was a great success and sparked off considerable demand. But Aalto was not interested in business. He never answered letters, and at the factory where his furniture was manufactured, there was nobody who knew English. The representative for Aalto Furniture in England got in touch with Aalto's friend Niels Gustav Hall. Hall, in turn, got in touch with Maire Gulliksen, who wanted to establish a gallery for modern art in Helsinki. That was how Artek came into existence in 1935, to publicize and exhibit radical modern art and at the same time handle sales of Aalto furniture both in Finland and abroad.
Jo, vi ville med Artek att vi skulle få lära människor ett enklare sätt att leva. Att man inte behöver ha så mycket prylar, man behöver inte ha så mycket saker omkring sig. Man kan ha några bra saker. Jag hade själv sysslat ganska mycket med sociala ting inom bolaget Ahlström, och jag såg genast för mig att en sån här möbel skulle kunna gå både i sott och i koja. Det har alltid funnits en social linje i Artek, och den linjen drev egentligen fru Aalto väldigt starkt på. Hon var mycket socialt intresserad. Jag tror nästan att hon var kanske i ännu högre grad. Alva var konstnären, men hon var den som etiskt var mer övertygad om sin gärning.
Cheap furniture for everybody was one of Aalto's aims. In his bent wood furniture he found a synthesis between art, nature and mass production. Aalto embarked on an important phase in his work when he was commissioned to build the Sunila sulfate pulp mill and the adjoining housing area near the town of Kotka. He got the commission partly through knowing Harry and Maire Gulliksen. Harry Gulliksen was managing director of the Ahlström Industrial Group, and Maire was a member of the Ahlström family.
Min man Harry föreslog var Aalto som arkitekt, och de sa, var mycket rädda och sa, kan man nu i ett arbete som bohem, att hans ritningar kommer säkert inte i tid och ingenting blir färdigt. Och till alla stora förvåning så kom alla ritningar prick, och allt blev färdigt i den tidplan som var utsatt för det där. Så att efter det så blev också hela industrin, den övriga industrin, mycket intresserad av Alvar.
The Gulliksens had radical ideas, about a better and more just society. In their efforts to improve the living conditions of the workers, they established creches, built staff canteens and clubhouses. In the Aaltos, they found ideal colleagues, with whom they had an affinity of ideas. Aalto placed the Sunila housing area within walking distance of the mill. In the housing, Aalto sought a balance between a town-like community and seclusion for the individual inhabitants. In the houses at Kauttua, Aalto shows on a small scale how architecture can be adapted to the terrain. But he was to go even further in his quest for harmony between buildings and nature. These houses are on the island of Seurasaari, Helsinki's open-air museum. They are examples of Finnish traditional architecture, in which Aalto admired the harmony with nature. Wood, that ancient material so obvious to the Finns, threatened to disappear completely from all the more important buildings during the 30s. Now, Aalto reintroduces it in a status building, obviously meaning to be controversial. It was Maire and Harry Gullikson's Villa Mairea from 1938, one of Aalto's most admired and richly detailed examples of a building adapted to nature. The inner yard at Mairea is the central part of the house, just as in old Finnish farmyards. The smoke cabins of olden times had turf roofs. Aalto created a modern version of the turf roof for the loggia and sauna at Mairea. The Villa Mairea is situated on a pine-grown hill. Aalto used the canopy over the main entrance to link the house with its surroundings. The lower floor forms an open plan, with large windows everywhere maintaining the contact with nature. The ribs of the stairs seem to echo the pine trunks outside. The large living room